What's going on, mi gente? It's diegomontalvan back to talk about another conmebol nation right before tomorrow's key games. Today, I have Andres Mendez with me to talk a little bit about Bolivia. He's a Bolivian football expert. So first off, Andres, how you doing today? How's everything?
Everything's well, Diego. Thank you for having me.
I want to get right into it, Andres. Bolivia, they've had, I guess, turned it around. They've had some good moments. So what would you say about this campaign for Bolivia and how would you grade it?
Well, it has had its ups and downs, but for the first time in quite a few campaigns, we actually had some faith at certain points after a couple of important victories versus Uruguay in La Paz. That was a key moment to cap off last year. And we were very optimistic going into the match against Venezuela earlier this year in January, I believe. But the away defeat there pretty much burnt our hopes out because we definitely needed those points, and the matches after Venezuela were all must wins. So we're at a stage where we want to do the most we can, but our hopes for qualifying, I would say, are pretty much gone, unfortunately.
Would you say that game against Venezuela that you just mentioned, was that a key moment that turned things around?
Definitely. The build up from that match against Uruguay last year to the match versus Venezuela was really strong. You started to feel an energy, optimism that we haven't had in a long time. And then right from the get-go, as soon as the match started, you could see we were up for it. We've had a pretty poor away form when we play in La Paz with the definite advantage that the altitude gives us. It's a different story, but going away has been pretty tough for us. So yes, very key moment for us.
Is there any game besides that one that you think back and you say, man, that should have been a win, or maybe that should have been a loss? Maybe there was a game that you guys had you played really well and you thought, oh, it could have been a loss.
There have been a couple. The defeat versus Peru last year as well. It was a pretty tight game. We lost by one goal, but that was also an away match, and that was another match that we were going into with good form. We had a victory. Can't recall who we beat. I think it was Paraguay 4-0. Yeah, it was Paraguay 4-0. And we normally don't win that strongly, that convincingly. Paraguay are a pretty good squad. So that was another match that pretty much confirmed the common theme, the common story for our national team, that we can't put performances in at home here in Bolivia, but whenever we go away, be it the factor that the pitches in the other countries in South America tend to be, the grass is just a little bit shorter, so the ball moves faster. And in altitude, we have that advantage. Plus, our players are accustomed to playing there because most of our players are players from the national league. They haven't gone abroad as much as other teams. We have those advantages. So going away is tough for us.
Who would you say in this campaign was a standout player? Someone that stood out, obviously, I think there's a name that comes to mind in Marcelo Martins, who has obviously been scoring goals galore. But for you, I don't know, maybe there was someone else or maybe other players as well.
Yeah, a couple come to mind. Marcelo definitely the top goal scorer, and he's definitely led by example in every way possible. But a couple of younger players really managed to come through in many regards during this campaign, starting with Ramiro Vaca. Ramiro Vaca used to play in La Paz, in the strongest, and he's recently moved to Europe. And it's not common for us to export players, so whenever we do, we always keep a close eye on them. He's playing in the first division of Belgium in a team that are struggling, but he is getting a lot of playing time. So that's valuable. We'd rather have that than a player who doesn't have an important role in Europe. Ramiro Saavedra has been a player who has been developing in the last tournaments. He played Copa America. He recently moved to South Africa, and he is becoming a little bit more of a senior player now. He's not necessarily one of the younger players. right about to reach his prime. So those two have come a long way, to mention a couple, to mention a few.
Yeah, I mean, so what do you think needs to be done in to change this around, right? Bolivia, as you mentioned, they have certain players that are good, but what needs to change to turn this around and get Bolivia into those, you know, top four, top five positions for the next qualifying campaign?
That's a big question. How long do you have? Well, to start off, the key points that have been recurrent throughout the last few years is firstly, we are actually one of the only national teams in South America that doesn't have a home. We don't actually have pitches that belong to the Bolivian Football Federation to train in. So that inconsistency of having to move around and always trying to find the best pitch, which is in the best condition during the run into the games, is not good for the national squad. Secondly, in general, Bolivia, the condition of the pitches, the facilities, training centers is not up to standard. It's not up to what the players have seen when they've gone abroad. It's something that they often mention when they do go abroad and come back. So those two factors really hold us back. And something that is pretty evident as well is that we haven't managed to export as many players as other South American teams or countries because of X and Y reasons, but that's what's happened. And most of our players tend to stay here. The Bolivian National League is definitely exciting. You do see a bit of everything in our league, different champions, but the national team there's a lot of work to do there.
Yeah, I can see how you say that, right? Because I think it's happened a lot with a lot of South American countries. Peru, for example, right now, Ecuador went through that, and now they're living through a better phase. But it takes time. It's a process that sometimes a lot of these countries, a lot of these federations don't want to deal with the time, right? The time constriction. They want it now, and unfortunately, yes, this is a business, but it's in order to develop and have it come to fruition, you need a lot of time. Bueno, Bolivia has the next two games, upcoming games, away to Colombia and Brazil in Bolivia and La Paz. What do you take away from these games? What's next with obviously Bolivia sitting in eighth place, 15 points. There's still a very slight possibility, right? If everything went your way. But I mean, what do you want from these next two matches?
Yeah, from what I understand, I think our best shot is coming into fifth spot, the playoffs. But like you say, everything has to go according to plan perfectly, and that's tough to consider. But we look at the squad. The squad that has been called up for these two teams is a younger squad, a much younger squad. We have certain players that haven't played, so first caps for quite a few of the boys there, and a lot of the boys that are called up for this run-in, we were actually part of the sub-23, the under 23 and the under 21 teams in the past. So hopefully they'll be able to show us a little bit of what's to come, because we do have good players. It's just a matter of building a tactical structure that is embedded in the national team. So hopefully this will be the start of that, and we'll see more of these younger boys, because we don't have a lot of the senior players for this call up. So we're hoping to see what they can bring to the team.
That's no, yeah. I think that's perfect. Honestly, I want to tell you, Andres, thank you for your time, for enlightening us on Bolivia and what their campaign and what's needed now, right? So I want to leave the floor open to you if you have any last comments, and if you want to let the people know where they can find you.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk about soccer, football, and Bolivia in particular. I think it's a shame that we don't get enough coverage, because there are a lot of exciting players here, and there's definitely a lot of potentials. Hopefully, we'll be seeing more of that in the future. And I'm currently not working online at the moment, so I just take call-ins whenever they come in. but I'd be happy to talk to anyone about football down here. And I wish you the best of luck, Diego. Nice chatting to you.
Thank you, Andres, and thank you guys all. And that, with this last interview, this will close up all of the CONMEBOL nations. So you'll be able to find all of them under the playlist on YouTube. Guys, thank you very much, and hope you guys like it, comment, and subscribe.